and welcome to my video to review Kaldheim Day 4 spoilers. Before we get into the video, if you please like, comment, and subscribe. Also, if you would go and follow me on twitch.tv/Jarvis_Moonbeam and on Twitter and on Instagram at Jarvis_Moonbeam. And in the description of the notes, you will also see my Discord. Thank you and enjoy the video. So for the first card that we have for today, we have Morite of the Frost. It is 2, a green, and 2 blue for a legendary snow creature shapeshifter. It is a changeling, meaning that the card has every creature type and it is a 0/0. You may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of a permanent you control, except it's legendary and snow in addition to its other types. And if it's a creature, it enters with 2 additional +1/+1 counters on it and has a changeling. I don't know what you can do in standard with this. I don't know where you would be with standard. However, I do see this being played a lot in Commander because people do like the copy and clone effects. Most of the time they just use blue or regular mono blue for it. But I don't see why this wouldn't be able to be in there as well. It'd be interesting to see how people go into this. It is a neat little commander as well. It's almost like Spark Double-esque. The only problem with this card is it's legendary. So if you copy a planeswalker or a legendary creature, they're going to go and cancel each other out and it's going to die. That's the big... Next card is Lijara Kinseekers. It is 3 and a blue. It is a creature with shapeshifter. Also changeling, so we do have a lot of changelings coming in this set, which are a lot of fun. And it is a 2/4. When it enters the battlefield, if you control 3 or more creatures that share a creature type, put a +1/+1 counter on it, and then scry 1. If you're playing a tribal deck, in Commander makes sense. I don't see this seeing play in Standard or Historic, but it is going to see play in Limited because it is it does go and lead to tribal decks, which just has Shapeshifter tribal, so there's Changeling. It also has Giants and Dwarfs, Elves, so that it could be easy to go and pull off in a Limited format if you go and draft around it. Otherwise, I don't really see it seeing too much play outside of Limited. Next card is Guardian Gladewalker. It's 1 and a green. And yet again, another shapeshifter that's a changeling. That's a 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. This card is yet again another limited card. I was thinking for a minute that there is that Selesnya counters deck in Standard that this might be able to slot into. What is stopping me from wanting to say that this will slot into that deck is in your 2-drop slot, you already have Luminarch Aspirant. This isn't better than Luminarch Aspirant. You also have Conclave Mentor. This isn't better than Conclave Mentor. It's just, and you have Scavenging Ooze, not better than Scavenging Ooze. This just isn't good enough to see play in Standard because you have all those other cards that are going to see play there. But it's going to be fun to play in Limited. It reminds me of Dauntless Survivor. That only sees play in Limited and nowhere else. Next card is Bloodline Pretender. It is a 3-drop artifact creature shapeshifter. It's a 2/2, also has changeling. When it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Whenever another creature of the chosen type enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on Bloodline Pretender. This card seems sneaky good. It's really good in tribal decks. I could see someone trying to build around this. Its downfall is it doesn't have any keywords that make you want to play it because sure, you keep growing and growing. But if you've played a counters deck and you play like a Wildwood Scourge, where that just keeps growing and growing whenever you put a +1/+1 counter on a non-Hydra, that one gets a +1/+1 counter, you'll realize that it doesn't mean a lot. Because you can't get through and they can just chump block it with 1/1s and 2/2s all day long. So we'll see. I can see it seeing play though. Kai's Onslaught. 2 and a white. It's an instant. Target creature gets +1/+1 and gains double strike until end of turn, and it has 4 health for a single white. I hate combat trick cards. I don't play them. I don't really see them getting a lot of play. I don't see this seeing a lot of play either. It's going to be a limited card where people like to play the combat tricks unlimited. The only saving grace it might have is that it is a foretell card. So we'll see what happens there. I don't like it. I don't see it seeing play though. Haggy Mob, 4 and a red. It is a 5/4 with Boast for 1 and a red. It deals 1 damage to any target. This is all day, every day, a top end limited card. Won't see play anywhere else because you're not paying 2 mana to deal 1 damage to a target. It's a bad use of mana. And it's not something that you can use as a mana dump because you don't activate it once each turn. But it will see play unlimited as a big body on your top end. Now, this is a card that I've seen people be very excited for. It's Faceless Haven. It is a snow land. It taps for colorless. And then for 3 snow, Faceless Haven becomes a 4/3 creature with vigilance and all creature types until end of turn. It's still a snow land. This will be seen play in Commander in tribal decks, especially the tribal decks that have ways to buff your tribe. As of now, in Standard, this is not going to see play because there's no real reason to play a manland in a tribal deck, especially when it's a 3/3, when it's 3 for a 4/3 with vigilance. Like, think about it right now, rogues. Why wouldn't they just want to keep playing 1 or 2 drop rogues? That's a lot. Elves, they're not going to play it. Goblins, they're not going to play it. This, to me, is a commander card. It doesn't make sense in a standard or historic format, just because most of the creature-heavy decks aren't going to play manlands. That's why they don't play Crawling Barrens right now. And in a non-creature-heavy deck, like Dimir Control, or if you're playing Azorius Control, or even some Doom Foretold decks, and you're playing manlands, Crawling Barrens is better. You can grow it further. Sure, it doesn't have vigilance, and it does cost a little bit more to activate, but you could get it up to being a 12/12 or a 16/16, something crazy, and one-shot someone at the end. I'd rather Crawling Barrens all day, every day. Faceless Haven isn't going to see play in those formats. Annul. Annul is a reprint. It's for 1 blue. Under target artifact or enchantment spell. So, some of you know that I haven't been back into Magic for very long. It's coming up to 2 years where I've been playing Magic again. I even play CDH. Here's all you need to know about Annul. In a format that cares about lowering your CMC, this isn't a card that sees play. It's too restrictive. I don't even think it sees sideboard play. Now that the art is cool. The hammer going to the shield, I think it's cool. It's just not going to see play. But sometimes you just need those reprints. Draugr Necromancer for 3 and a black. It is a snow creature zombie cleric 4/4. If a non-token creature an opponent controls would die, exile that card instead. With an ice counter on it instead, that's important. You may cast spells from among cards in exile your opponents own with ice counters on them, and you may spend mana from snow sources as though or mana of any kind to cast those spells. So a few things to break down. 1, it's a 4/4 for 4. Good. 2, it does act as graveyard hate because it exiles the cards. So your opponents don't get to go and try to recur things. Because of that, this would probably go and see play as a sideboard card in a mono black deck for Kroxas, Woestrider's, College of Familiars, Uros, all those things. It also lets you go and cast those cards. Now the bad thing is you wouldn't want to go and cast your opponent's Uro or Kroxa because then it actually goes back to the graveyard because the opponent doesn't control it any longer. I personally am not I don't have a home for this in any of my decks because my decks want creatures to die. They don't want them to go commander decks I should say. They don't want them to be exiled. They need those death triggers. But I do see this as a sideboard card for sure. Even depending like mono black, maybe someone plays like 1 or 2 in the main. But this is a good sideboard card for graveyard hate. Mask Wooden Nexus. It's a 4-drop. Creatures you control are every creature type. The same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield. For 3 and tapping it, create a 2/2 blue shapeshifter creature token with Changeling. So it is every creature type. The best part about this card is that they're every creature type. And it's for only creatures you control. Now, it is pretty much a more expensive arcane adaptation, but it can be played in any deck. And it does also have that payoff of you're able to go and create the shapeshifter. So with other synergies around creatures and tribes coming in the set, this might see play. I don't know if it'll see play, but it might see play. The one thing that I have seen people bring up is the tree from the one tree land that for 2 and Wooburg essentially, you get to go and get all your gods from your library and put them into the battlefield. This goes and makes that possible. Now, yet again, that's a commander play. That's not a standard or historic play. I'm of the opinion that it's not fast enough for standard or historic, so we'll see where we go there. Gemfar Shadow Mage, 3 and a black, is an elf cleric. That's a 2/5 that when it enters the battlefield, you choose one. Each opponent loses X life, where X is the greatest number of creatures you control that share a creature type. You gain X life, where X is the greatest number of creatures you control that share a creature type. Tribal. This will see play in a cleric's deck, most likely for sure. It will not. I don't think it will see too much play in standard or historic. I think it will see play in commander if someone's playing a cleric's deck. Now people have been trying to make Orzhov clerics work, so it might be like a tier 3 deck, but I don't think it's ever going to go and get to that tier 1 or 2 where you're going to have to ever worry about seeing this card. Now this is a card that other people are really excited about as well. It's Eradicator Valkyrie. It's 2 and 2 black, Angel Berserker. It's a flying lifelink hexproof from Planeswalkers and has boast of 1 and a black. Sacrifice a creature. Each opponent sacrifices a creature or Planeswalker. And it's a 4/3. I would rather go and play Wrinkle in the spot in standard. Once Eldraine rotates, this could see play depending what else comes out in the next year. But Wrinkle is a 3/3 for 4 flying haster that discards cards, draws cards, and sacrifices creatures. The hexproof from Planeswalkers, don't really see how pertinent it is. The only other positive that I would say for this card is since it's a boast and it's an activated ability that you have to pay for, you could go and play this ability and not have combat damage with the player. When you're playing Rankle, you have to go and hit the player to go and do it. So, say someone has a Planeswalker out, you attack. Kill the Planeswalker with this is your only creature. But they have a non-flying creature that you're worried about on the board, and that's their only creature. You then play the Boast cost after the combat damage goes through. You lose your Eradicator Valkyrie, but they lose their creature that you're worried about as well. So it's another way to go and look at it. And the final card is Snake Skin Veil. It's a single green. You put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. It gains hexproof until end of turn. This is pretty much a slightly better Ringer's Guile because it's a counter, not just +1/+1. It is a limited play. It is not going to see play anywhere else. You do have that Selesnya counters deck, but Selesnya counters, they don't care about protection. If they did, they'd already be playing Subsidiary Shelter, or they would be going and playing Heroic Intervention. They don't, or Policy of Life's Bounty, or Selfless Savior. Any of those in the sideboard. None of that stuff even gets played on the sideboard of the Selesnya counters deck. It's a good limited card. It's not going to see play anywhere else. But now that we've gone through all these cards, let me know what you think. Do you think I'm drastically wrong on one of the cards and I should go and change my opinion? Or do you agree with me? Just let me know what you think. I really appreciate the feedback. I'll be back tomorrow with day 5 of the Kaldheim previews. But enjoy the rest of your